Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is OctoMan, and we are going to continue, or I'm going to continue with the simple design training over here. So, meanwhile, I haven't been online. I just created something for the rest of my playfield. I created I don't know, some things over here, like some footprints or whatever to probably discover later on for achievements and stuff like that. Also, I created something we are basically digging for, and you can do this as well. In this part, I want to implement these two. So whenever we have like no sand left, of course, I'm going to do put this into the center of the playfield literally, and I can redesign it later on, as well as put something else into it, as well as this part is going to be the bottom. Like I'm gonna put this over, literally over this one, like whenever the sand is gone. So when that is my sand, it's like 100% of the sand, like 1 million something. I can reduce it, like, well, I can shrink it down over scale. I can do something like get rid of it like left to right, whatever, so you can reveal stuff over time. And whenever this is literally zero, like scaled away to zero, then we're gonna reveal what's ever inside. So in that case, I want to go and just get rid of this part, meaning I want to export these elements over here. So first the discovered field, then this field in the center, as well as this little footprints, so I can literally put something in the game to discover, meaning when somebody clicks by mistake on a specific field, I can hide it wherever I want to. I can make an achievement and can do something like find 5 footprint achievement or 10 footprint achievement or whatever, and then I can just bring them anywhere in the game. I can put something white on top of it, so whenever somebody clicks on it, or maybe have to click like 5 times on it, then it's going to be gone away, something like that. So again, I need to export this complete area over here as being a PNG. Once again, depending on the quality in the end, or the outcome you want to achieve in the end, the higher the actual size of the images have to be. I believe I would go with 1,000 in height, or maybe 1,500 in height, so I have a width of about the same. So I'm gonna say 1,500 pixels in top and left, literally, or almost. As you can see, it's almost a square in total, with these footprints inside over here as well. So what I want to do is, of course, I want to make sure that I export it into the correct folder, which is going to be, once again, inside my folder of my game. I just need to find it. I do this currently like off screen onto the other side, and need to find it. Go to the assets folder, and of course gonna go and give it a name, like I don't know, digging spot, or whatever. It basically doesn't matter. I'm gonna save that as PNG, and then of course I need to hit export. And later on, if the quality doesn't perform quite well, I can go back once again and just re-export it in a higher resolution if I need to. Good. Back to the game. I haven't done anything since the last time. I just need to make sure now that these digging spot things are going to be shown correct. So I need to go and change the sprite mode once again to be multiple, and open the sprite editor, apply the changes, and then you can see this has a white background, this one as well as my footprints don't have any background, which is good. So I can literally place them wherever I like to, and they fit the design, like the black and white design. Good. When that is the case, and when that is done, we can do automatic slice, hopefully. I'm not quite sure, so this one is sliced correctly, but as you can see, the footprints over here, they do slice bad. So what I do is I just get rid of these small ones, because they are stupid and not really necessary. I also only need 1 footprint. I don't even need 2. So what I do is I just take the blue square and just change it to the necessary size, I would say. I'm gonna leave the pivot in the center because it doesn't matter. I can't even get rid of this one, just need this one. I can also go and rename it to be footprint. So in the bottom right, you can always do this. You can also set already the pivot point of that. And whenever things are going to be later on, I'm gonna apply the changes first. And whenever the things are going to be like correctly placed, and the pivot point, as in this particular case, like when these are having the same size, the pivot point should be like above the other one, and we shouldn't have any issues later on by these visualizations. If you're a graphic designer, you are absolutely up to make it later on way more beautiful. You can also make 3D graphics and all the other content, but that's not the part of this particular training over here. The training about it is like, how do I get an idea? How do I bring it onto paper or wherever, or in Inkscape, then give some visual representation as a prototyping stage, pretty much okay. And in the end, whenever all of that is going to be completed and everything works, like code-wise and so on and so forth, you can always go back and update the graphics, because you know how they work and how they look in the end. So back to the object. In the last one, we were creating a little inventory of 2 item types which we can actually get. We can sell them. We cannot eat them right now. We cannot eat the fish, but we'll get there. And also we were able to open and close this inventory. At this point, we were able to dig away sand, and as well as we're going to be able to get the stones at this button and get the fish at this button. And also all these bars over here are going to work completely. We added the possibility to grab coins, like by selling stones and fish. So far, so good. We're now able to bring in the new graphics we have created, or I just created beforehand. I can put them into the canvas as a usual normal image. So I just go to the canvas, right click UI, and I'm gonna create a new image. And I'm gonna put my digging spot graphic for this dinosaur into it. I'm gonna make sure that I use preserve aspect ratio, so the ratio or the aspect ratio of the image is going to stay as is. And now I'm gonna go and resize it as necessary. I want to make sure later on that the image is above everything, meaning it is on the bottom of everything in the game itself. So I make it as huge as I think I'm gonna need it. Once again, I may or may not go and add more graphics, like for the pond, the fishing pond, or maybe some stones on the side, something in the background, like, you know, some hills or whatever. It doesn't really matter. As you can see, the result is kind of different. I'm gonna put this in the very bottom, so as you can see, it is rendered first. So this is literally the render order. Everything above this image is going to be rendered afterwards. So that's why it is now under the button, even if it is like hierarchically wise in the top. So I put this anywhere. I can, and I want to make sure that, of course, my little button over here is standing for this particular area here as well. So it does make sense overall. Once again, I can reduce and increase size. Once I'm done with that image, I duplicate it, since I need the same size, and I put this as a child over there. And instead of having another dinosaur, I'm gonna put like my filled area. So basically I just copied the underlying circle or whatever. And what we can do with that is, for example, we can go and you know, scale stuff away or around, or we just use a simple like a filled thing, like we horizontally fill an image. As you can see, I can just hide and unhide things by just this fill amount. Like whenever the 1 million points over here are gone, my fill amount is going to be gone, and I discover the full dinosaur. We can do this like left and right and left. I believe we can even go to the center. Well, maybe not. That actually doesn't really matter. We can go left to right, we can go right to left, so like the opposite one. It depends maybe on the graphics we are going to use in the end. But yeah, that is what we can make use of, like this fill amount, like this percentage of the fill amount of this particular image we want to unhide, and like where the sand is on. And everything below it is going to be visualized whenever rendered. So this is literally the sand we have, and this is like our dinosaur, whatever we are going to dig out. If it is a chest, then of course put a chest over there. It doesn't really matter at all. If you don't like this idea, of course you have a ton of other possibilities to hide things over here. Maybe put 1 million dots on top, and whenever you have like dig away one, then of course the dot is going to be gone there as well. Once again, I believe you find your way through this. So now we just need to hook up the, literally just hook up the send image as being the same but not in scale mode, but in this case in the fill amount, and reduce it based on the same calculation as we have done before to literally unhide or reveal the complete dinosaur. To do so, we need to go back into the game manager, since he knows about the send amount, like the send bar, the current send amount, as well as the maximum send amount, so we can do the calculation. But before we do this, I wanted to go over and cover pretty quick why the headers are not showing up. Basically, a header needs to be always above a public variable. It's kind of strange, but that's what it is about. So if we would go and take like this public variables and put them below the send over here, the send header will be shown. Otherwise, it's not. Once again, pretty strange, but well, it is what it is, right? And so in that case, we should be able to see later on also stamina header as well. Whenever we just switch from here to here, nothing else. We just switch the positions. So this fish and stone amount over here literally is not even necessary anymore. Why? Is because we do not count fish anymore. In this case, we use the inventory, which is going to take care of how many fish or how much fish we are going to have over there. If I would go and just, you know, or hide them, like, or just comment them out, we'll get some errors at the very bottom over here, since we cannot increment fish and stone anymore. It was more or less just for debugging purposes, once again, because the inventory itself is taking care of the items we are going to pick up, as well as the corresponding amount over here. Good, so far so good. We're gonna need to go and I just save this one out. So now I want to make a connection to this particular image. So I need to have a placeholder, like an image I can talk to, and talk to the fill amount of this particular image. Fish does not contain or just exist in the current context. And if you have something like that, okay, we are trying to access something which is not here, we're gonna need to take a look into, okay, where do we also access fish? And it tells us in a line 118, it seems, we have the problem. And as you can see, whenever we want to out of sell the fish, of course we cannot do this anymore. That was also just for you know, testing purposes. So literally I just disable the complete auto sell fish thing over here, just get rid of it completely, because we need to later on do this or talk to the inventory to auto sell the fish after like 6 seconds or 5 or 10 or 100 seconds, doesn't really matter at all, however we want to. Okay, good, so far so good. We want to make sure now that the send has actually a send image, so we're gonna say public image send with that, but not send as this way. We need to maybe name it send image, so we actually know, okay, what is the send image about. Now we need to do, whenever we update send, I just need to find the actual remove and add, no, update the send UI. Whenever we do this, and currently we are just over here scaling the send bar, what we want to do is we want to access the fill amount of the image. So in that case, we're gonna have to say something like send image dot fill amount, and now we can set this one to be equal to the send percentage, because we already you know, calculated this one. We just set it to be this one, because that is going to be a number between 0 and 1, as you already noticed. Good, let's try to dig a hole and see if the send is going to be doing what it should do. In that case, first off, once again, we need to go to the game manager and add our send image to be the one over here. Otherwise, we get again a null reference or something similar. So I take the send image and put it into the image slot for the send image. And now you can see also that these little headers are now working completely correct, because they are directly above a public variable. Otherwise, these headers are not visible, as I explained beforehand. Don't forget to save, and yeah, let's dig some holes. So meaning I just, oh, that was wrong. I just want to make sure that I dig some higher numbers over here. Doesn't really matter how high, but I want to see that the effect is going to be 100%. Like we currently have this laying on top over here. As you can see, it seems there's a slight offset, but when I now dig onto this multiple times, you can see I reveal some things over here onto the sand. So this image, which is lying above, or the sand image itself, can be now reduced whenever we keep on digging. I cannot dig anymore because I have no stamina left, but you can see with that high amounts I was able to kind of the same amount as we see at the top over there is going to be now represented just by this little that sand image, I would say, which is cut off kind of straight, do through the fill amount left to right or right to left, depending on how we want that. And once again, we also need to have something which is determining if we have won the game, meaning, or the round, I would say. And it can take quite some time depending on how high or how low you do the numbers and how much money you're gonna have later on, as well as how high the dig amount is. Once again, we are starting with 1 at the very beginning and probably do some upgrades until we can dig by hand, I don't know, up until 20 points away. So this 1 million number is going to be quite high, and we have a playtime, or possible playtime, of maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 hours or something. So people need to play at least 6 hours this particular game before they are able to unhide the full, the full dinosaur. Once again, since maybe this is not really visible at this particular point when it's like still half full, we still have the indicator in the top. So we always know, okay, we're gonna scale this one down and so on and so forth. If you are currently new to this video, you see this one later than the stream is going to happen, please make sure that you watch the first part of the complete course basically, or this training, because you will or may miss like all the necessary content which we have done in the first video, which was about 3 hours long. So now at this point, when everything is 0, then this is 0 and this one is completely gone away, then we know that we have unhide, or we are done with this particular part. Pretty simple, as you have seen, or I talked about in the first video about the concept. Pretty simple at all. Once again, we want to keep people busy with doing things and so on and so forth. But that is something which is going to represent literally the goal of the game, is whenever you are done with undigging the dinosaur or whatever it is. When it is a chest, when it is whatever, a golden nugget, it doesn't matter. So design, again, completely up to you. You don't even need to dig something. You can also say we are not digging something free. We are more like fishing something 1,000 trillion times, maybe the biggest fish ever. Or maybe we're gonna make use of that. Or maybe we need to cut a rope, or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. The options, or actually the work for that, is going to be literally the same. You can change the theme of the game like any time you want. It's not just me. I'm just giving you one idea literally, and you have to basically go into it and see how you can make your own version of that. So as you can see, everything on my game over here, or the base of the game, is going to be just flat. So we work just in 2D space. I don't have anything else much over here, no much graphics, but still they represent something. So meaning, if you invest like depending on your skills, if you invest like maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours in the design itself, even if that is not a necessary step at the very first place, more like getting the functions done, you're absolutely good to go. And as you have seen, even me, while I explain like everything, I took for the first stuff, I took like 3 hours, and for the second part, you're going to go and see you can just perform that on your own. You just need to go and dig deeper into what we need over there. Good. With that, all of that out of the way, we now want to know, okay, why do we need money? And we need to give the player a rule or a reason to get money, and a reason to spend money for. For that, we're gonna have the possibility to create an upgrade system. I use this little arrow button over here to open, let's say, the upgrade screen. We're gonna take a look into that, and how do we actually perform upgrades overall, and how do they change the actual game. So okay, let's upgrade this, or buy something specific, like buy a fisher, an auto fisher, who is going to fish the fish automatically every now and then. Same for, as we already talked about in the first video, same for the stone guy, and probably also some guy who's going to be able to dig the sand for us automatically. So we basically, everything, any type of input the player can do, we can try to automate that. And we need to give them a reason to do this, because, well, we cannot click 100 times because our stamina bar is kind of small. And so that's where we probably want to start with. Like, we want to get something, some item, not an item literally, but let's say some possibility to upgrade something. Then give it like an access point in which it's going to, whatever it's going to change. Like, we store this information, like the current level, we need to store it anywhere in the list or something, as we did with the possible items. We're going to do literally the same for possible upgrades. So, and every time we purchase an upgrade, we have like a price list maybe. So the first one cost 100 coins, second 1,000 coins, and so on. As well as we do this for like literally any type or any kind of upgrade we may or may not be able to make use of. And also, of course, we need to have a panel which is going to represent like everything over there. So like with the inventory, we're gonna click it, we open it, we perform something, we press on buttons, purchase this one, and then we just need to let the game manager or whoever it is, we need to let him know, hey man, we need to multiply our actual fish amount, or whatever, our fish count, or whatever it is, whatever action we do, we need to bring this into the calculation. Like, automatically, or whatever. Like, whenever we click on stones, that we maybe not get this particular stone, so maybe we increase it by another number. Like, when we have like 10 stone upgrades, the next stone is probably worth $30 instead of, or coins or whatever, instead of 10 or 15. So, and all of that is going to be this is going to be the mechanics where we need to have the coins for. And so, like, a lot of games in total are the same way. They work literally the same way. I just take a look into my management system. So over here I have my game manager object, in which I have my inventory as well as the game manager itself. So probably I'm gonna do my all my other systems also onto the game onto the same game object, like our update or upgrade manager. And to do so, of course, we need to create a new script which is going to be able to handle like all the upgrades. So I name this maybe upgrade or upgrades, or just upgrade manager. Actually, I just name it upgrades. Who cares? So, and of course I need to open this one. I'm gonna need to close my mono develop pretty quick and restart my upgrades by just double clicking it to open, and it takes a second or two. Okay, it seems to be loaded. So I open the upgrade script overall. So what is an upgrade and how can we actually design that? Usually I get rid of start and update as long as I don't know what I need for that, but usually update is kind of unnecessary. Hi Baxter, once again, thanks a lot for tuning in. I try to answer your question first. So, about calling a method every few seconds, what if I want to invoke repeating method to work in an if statement inside the update method? Well, try to avoid the update method. That's the first thing. If you want to make use of, or if you need anyhow the update method, then maybe by invoking, maybe you want to do something like trigger a true or false, like a boolean, in which like every once a second, for example, you set or set this boolean to be true by calling an extra function. Update will take a look into this boolean, like if this bool is true, then perform that, and at the end, whenever it has been performed, then go literally go back and unlock or just disable this boolean again and set it back to false whenever you have performed whatever is in update. But once again, you don't need update. Try to avoid update as much as you can. That's my biggest tip I can give you for that. Instead of update, use a coroutine if you have to. I may or may not go over coroutines in this session. Not quite sure yet because but there's no need for that at the moment. But maybe I'm gonna show you later on, instead of using invoke repeating on our automatic systems, I may go and take a look into coroutines so you get an idea of what a coroutine can do for us instead of using invoke repeating. Because coroutines are way better, way more precise, I would say, than update. And also update runs 60 times a second, and you want to avoid running something you don't need 60 times a second. That doesn't make sense overall. And an update, in a coroutine, we can say, okay, do this, then wait this amount of seconds and then repeat, or do something else. So it's like a time-based action inside a coroutine. So you want to avoid update, because that is like a constant loop running the whole time, and it's the only real purpose for update in the most cases is for inputs. Because update looks like 60 times a second if there has been happening an input like, oh, somebody pressed the button X on the keyboard. Then this is what you want to check for, like, constantly. But you don't want to let this perform like the whole time, because it, like, you know, whenever there's something like increase this number every now and then, that's absolutely not a good case for using the upgrade loop or update loop. So try as much as you can to avoid the update loop if there is another way, like invoke repeating or even a coroutine. They are way more performant. They outsource them literally. They don't run like 60 times a second. Well, they do, but it's not like as heavy, like calculation wise. It's not as heavy as the update loop itself. So try to avoid it as much as you can. Okay, let's take a look into an upgrade. What is an upgrade? Basically, it's nothing else than an item. And so an item is something where we can store data into. So we're gonna create like an upgrade class once again, in which we can set maybe the actual outcome, or maybe something like the before and after, or maybe a level of the upgrade, or a maximum kind of level, and then maybe some kind of a calculation which we can make use of to see how high is that upgrade and how high does the price of the fish went, or whatever it is. So that's where we start with. We need to define what an upgrade in the end is going to be. So we declare a public class. Once again, this class can be anywhere. You can create a new script for that if you want to. You can put it inside the upgrades class. Or you can put it outside, like above or below the class. Completely up to you. I would just, for this purpose over here, I just put it inside the upgrades class so I don't lose it, basically. So if I have later on naming convention issues like upgrade and upgrades, I can probably give it a completely different name. So this is like all upgrades with an S over here. This is just without an S at the very end, so I can literally define whatever I want to see inside. Once again, as we have done before, like with the items, we want to make sure that they are serializable, so we can make use of them in the inspector. So we say system.serializable. So otherwise we cannot see them in the list, like the possible upgrades list in this particular case, or in that case it's not just possible, but, well, it's also, I believe it's also the current one. I don't know. Maybe we're gonna have like multiple things up and running, or maybe we're gonna, we maybe just hop through something. I don't know. We'll see. So what is an upgrade? An upgrade has some parameters, as the item does have. As an example, an upgrade costs money. But since we don't know how many there are, so probably we have like an amount of possible upgrades, meaning we're gonna implement an amount which is going to be of type int again. So maybe we have a maximum, something like max upgrades, and we set this maybe to be 10 or 20 or 100. We can, if we do this public, just so you know, we need to do it public anyways, but we can say, okay, we take one specific upgrade, only have like 3 possibilities, or like 3 possible upgrades, or 4 or 10 or 20 or 100. Depending on that, we can create any upgrade differently, I would say. We can give it a name if we want to. Probably not a bad idea, because we want to see like a string in which we can just give it a name, like upgrade name, upgrade. Gonna make a capital or uppercase N over there. So we have an upgrade name. We have the possibility for 10 as a maximum. We are going to have something like a current, like public int current level, I would say. Probably we're gonna start at 0, so we have like no upgrades at the moment. We can also put this as a 1. All of that depends on how we do calculations in the future. So what else does this particular upgrade is going to do? Well, it needs to talk to something, and well, what we also need is probably some kind of an ID system which takes care of which item or which upgrade in this particular case has been upgraded accordingly, and based on that we may or may not need to redesign some things on the game manager. But do us through all these calculations, we may or may not need to go and how do we do this? Anyhow, perform things. Maybe we're gonna create just multiple functions which are going to be related to one specific upgrade, which is absolutely possible. So each upgrade gets its own function, like add this more, or get us this one, or increase the amount, like, or the stone quality, for example. So let's assume we have something like a stone quality. The stone quality is literally doing one specific thing. It is like increasing giving a specific stone ID back to like whenever we click on the dig button. So in the digging button, let's see where it was, like where we add the stone. Over here, we just use the ID of the item we are going to trigger. So what we need to change is what is the current ID of that. Currently we just have a hard-coded number 2 over there, but let's assume we have like multiple IDs. We can, like, the first ID is this, the second ID is that, the third ID is this one, whichever we want to like upgrade in this particular case, and maybe give some extra things over there. Now it's becoming a bit more complicated, since how we created that is probably not as easy as we thought beforehand. But what we can do is we can give some specific parameters to the upgrade class itself, like putting another array inside with some, let's say, integers. And based on the level over there, we're gonna change these integer, or read this particular integers with with the accessor ID, I would say. Like, let's assume we have a public int ID, like an upgrade ID. Maybe I'm gonna do this like that, and then we can talk to it and read whatever the current level of this upgrade ID is, and based on that level we're gonna pick the actual ID from a list or from wherever. Let's take a look. Let's assume we have an ID list, or an array, like an int array with these square brackets over there, and we say, okay, we want to list all our stone IDs, something like that. But what does it mean actually? I'm gonna go and save, and we're gonna create now pretty quick a list in which we have like all our possible updates, and we're gonna take a look into this. So public of type list, of course, as I said. The type is going to be upgrade. So it's going to be the one without the S, so the actual class over here, so we can populate the list with upgrades, like however we want them to have. Then we give them just a list, something like upgrade, just a name, I mean. Something like upgrades. Why doesn't it autocomplete? It doesn't like me. Upgrades, a list. And it's going to be equal to a new list of type upgrade, open close parentheses, close the line, with a semicolon. So when we save now and bring our upgrades script onto the game manager, we should be able to take a look into each of these single classes and design them however we want to. So I'm gonna just shrink the stuff together so we see stuff better over here. So as you can see, we have now an upgrade list. We can define it by its size. What we're gonna have is, currently, I just named it stone IDs. And stone IDs in this particular case is not even the correct word. It should be more like just IDs to access or IDs to change. Maybe something like that. Like item IDs in this particular case. And we can basically also later on go and redesign things around these IDs if we want to. So if we have an array of IDs to change, and we have a size of, let's say, 5, because we have maybe 5 upgrades in the end, like maximum upgrades, it should be 5 here as well. We have a current level of 0. And if that is going to be the upgrade for getting higher stone quality as an example, so we can say something like a stone upgrade, or stone quality, whatever, quality. Then we have the maximum amount of 5. We can get like 5 different types of stones, I would say. Then we have the current level, which starts at element 0, but the size once again is 5 over here of this IDs to change. Then we have the current level and we have the upgrade ID. So whatever the ID is, if that is not necessary, we're going to make use of that. Otherwise we don't. And get rid of it. And let's assume our first stone, and that's where we need to take a look into the inventory itself, what our possible items are. And the first stone is going to have the ID 2. And since we are starting at the current level of 0, we want to say, okay, our first element is going to be the ID 2 in this particular case. What does it mean in the long run is if we have like 5 more stones, or 4 most different stones in this particular case, like 4 more possible stone items, we should be able to get them also, but only if we are going to like put them here into the possible items, and then we need to take all the corresponding IDs. And so later on we just grab from the current level of the corresponding stone item, I would say, by in this case using this maybe this ID or maybe another ID. We will see what's going on. Then we just take a look, okay, what is the current level? Then we go to the IDs to change by taking the index of the current level and see what is the next item we are going to get whenever we click on this particular item. And so that is the idea how we can, or I try to structure like each of these upgrades and items. And based on that, we should be able to get some outcome sooner or later. And we can design like every other element and every other upgrades just by using these item IDs, I would say. And since we only have 2 items at the moment, it's not a good one. Probably I'm going to go and increase the size over here to 3. Instead of having a stone, we maybe are able to find an iron. Iron is going to get ID 3, cost of 30, and we don't have any amount because we don't touch the amount in the inspector. It's not necessary. So, and then here we're gonna have to implement, like whenever we buy or purchase one of these upgrades, we're gonna go once again from current level 0 to current level 1. Then we pick what is the next stone ID from this particular pickup item, button, I would say. But how do we do this is we first off need to have an access point to our upgrades handler, because we need to read from the upgrades list what's going to be the corresponding ID we are currently trying to access over there. And for that, well, that is going to be interesting, since we need to have an accessor for each particular button. Since whenever we click on the button, we need to ask first off which upgrade has been, actually performed over there, and which one is going to be the correct one. That's going to be interesting. I'm not quite sure how we're gonna do this or structure that, but we'll see. Okay, so again, we need to have an access point to upgrades in general. So we say public static upgrades and give it an instance name instance. And over there, like maybe below the list, we say void awake, as we did before. And in awake, we want to declare the instance to be equal to this. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to have this singleton over there. And it subscribes literally to itself, or in this case, to the static upgrades variable called instance. So we can now access it from anywhere we want to. So, and why do we need this? Well, because we need to read what is the current level. And same whenever we upgrade something, we want to upgrade based on the ID. We want to upgrade the corresponding upgrade to its next level whenever we purchase that by, using a button. And so on. So all of that about the upgrades is going to stay inside the upgrades parameter, and later on we just talk from outside into that particular points or positions, whatever you call it. Okay, so again, now we need to find a way, how do we actually add a stone to one specific thing? And since we later on know which element inside our upgrades is going to be the correct one, we can directly talk to it from here. I believe that is the best way I can explain it. Because, well, the first upgrade in our upgrades list is going to contain like all the IDs, of course, but also it has let's say an element inside this list. Like we know this upgrade sits as an example in number 0 or number 1 or wherever we're gonna put the stone upgrade in. Whenever we have that, we know, okay, it sits in element 0, so we can tell our button, which we are pressing over here, like by adding one specific item with a specific ID, and we can take or pick this ID from the upgrades current level IDs to change. And once again, we do it by using the ID, or in this case, the element of the list of this upgrade. Let's put this together. Like, okay, we wanna get some item with the correct upgrade. It can be fish, it can be stone, doesn't really matter. And if you don't like to use just like multiple classes from an upgrade list, you can also create one single setup of everything. How does it work? Instead of having them all in a list, like all the upgrades in one list, you can also create one single accessor, like public, then of type upgrade, and then we can say something like stone upgrade. So it's just only this particular one item over here is going to be just for stone upgrades, and we can change things and just talk to stone upgrade. We can also do this for fish upgrade, but they are still using the same thing. Or we talk to the list, get the correct index of that. Well, in this particular case, it's totally up to ourselves. However we wanna do this. And we have later on like maybe another class which is not just like consumable upgrades, but maybe whatever speed upgrades or anything else, and we don't need to put this over here. We just create another class which contains the necessary points. Let's do that so you see the other side of that particular one. So we're gonna take this, I copy that, and instead of having a stone upgrade, we're gonna put together a fish upgrade. So don't forget to save, and now we can literally just talk to one or the other upgrade, whichever we want to. We can once again, we don't even need to have an upgrade ID for this particular point, I guess. So, but let's take a look how it looks now in the upgrade script. So beforehand we just had this complete list, but now we just have one thing, one for fish and one for stone, and we can also put some for the shovel, like if we have a shovel upgrade. But in that case, we don't consume anything. So, like we don't eat a fish, or we don't get better, but we get higher values, like digging values in this particular case. So we may or may not need to rewrite some code, or just create a shovel upgrade on its own, like by just creating a single class which only is for that specific thing. What we want to do is to access our stone upgrade list right now is rather simple. we just need to create a public void. We could, by the way, instead of taking a void, we can also return a value in of type integer, because what we want to get is the ID of the currently upgraded value, or the currently upgraded, let's say not value, but ID in this particular case for the item we want to get. And what we can call this number is get the value, or get the stone value. Let's say get stone value, or maybe get stone, maybe get stone ID. Later on we can also loop through and get multiple things from multiple stone upgrades if necessary, like randomizing the IDs to change can also be happening. Well, all of that completely up to you. What we need to do is, whenever we have an integer like a return value, void doesn't return anything, and int, a bool, a float, a string, they also have to return anything. So in the end we need to return a value. So currently we don't have any value, but we can literally return the value in a bit. So what do we want to do over there is, whenever we want to get a stone ID, we're going to request that from the once again from here, from the inventory instance add item, and at this point we want to see what is the current update. So how do we return the correct value? The correct value sits into stone upgrade dot, and in here we have like the current level, the IDs to change. We want to read from IDs to change, and since that is an array which contains integers, or should contain integers, we're gonna pick the current level of the stone upgrades. So we once again need to say stone upgrade dot current level. This is the value we want to return, so we just say return stone upgrade IDs to change based on the current level of the upgrade. Okay, now how do we upgrade the stones? Well, we need to create another function which is going to be public, in this case void, since we want to update something but we don't return anything. Update void, and then we say upgrade, or update, well, upgrade stone as an example, and later on we just have a button in which we perform things. Oh, and by the way, we need to implement a price for each of these upgrades, so we know how much we have to pay. But upgrading a stone is going to be nothing else than we just increase the current level as long as it is lower than the maximum upgrades in this particular case. So for that issue, we're gonna say something like current level stone upgrade dot current level. Literally we just do a plus plus, and what we do is we need to cap it. Like if the current level is higher than the maximum possible level, then we just say it stays where it is. So we can use, as an example, massf.clamp, so we clamp it to the maximum upgrades value, or between 0 and maximum upgrades value. So we have to say stone upgrades.current level, we need to clamp this one, or we maybe, let's do it this way. So we say this one is equal to, and then we can say massf.clamp between two values. The lowest value is going to be 0 and the maximum is that, but first off we need to say what do we want to clamp is going to be the stone upgrade.current level. Then we say comma 0 for the lowest, and the highest value is going to be stone upgrade.maximum upgrades. So the maximum upgrade value in this particular case is going to be 1. If that is not a good idea, which probably is not a good idea, to use this one, we may or may not make use of this integer length, like the IDs to change. So let me get rid of that, and we say IDs to change dot, in this case, the length. So the length of that is the maximum possible one, so we cannot overdo it. Even if we only have 2 updates, that will be automatically set to be this one. So it cannot be higher than that, as well as not lower. Now we just need to trigger upgrade stone. We increment the level. We take a look into this and try to not overdo it, of course. So in the game manager, whenever we now go and add a stone, we now need to take a look into the upgrade. So instead of putting a 2 over there as being the actual item ID we want to have, we need to take a look into upgrades.instance.get stone ID, because that is going to be the stone we want to actually buy. And now we just return whatever the ID gives back based on the current level and so on. So again, we request that by going into the stone upgrade directly, take a look into the IDs to change stone upgrade.current level, so whatever the current level is. And whenever we upgrade, we set it to up to 1, it gives us something else. Now let's set up the stone upgrade so we see if that really works. And of course we need to implement the, well, no, we don't need to. Everything should work fine. So first off, we go into our stone upgrades. We're gonna say over here, stone upgrade, or whatever it is, the name of that. Stone upgrade. The current level, we don't touch the current one. And the update ID, currently we don't touch this either, because, well, we don't need it at the moment, since we directly talk to this particular class. And in here we have like a size of 2. The first one we want to be able to get is number 2, because that's the first stone item. The next one is going to be having the ID 3. And if you don't like that they are so close together, you can also start with something like ID 10, where stones are going to start, or maybe 11. And over here it's going to be like the ID number 11 as an example. So we can also say here it's a 10 and it's an 11. So we always know these two have to match, literally. Don't forget to save everything, and let's test it out. So we should see that happening now whenever we try to get an item. First off, we click on this one, and when we open our inventory, we should see, okay, we just get or got 4 stones by just clicking on them. But what we want to do now is I'm gonna try to perform the upgrade now by just cheating a bit. So currently I'm gonna set my I just set the current level ID over here to be 1. I just upgraded literally by hand. And when I now go and pause again and unpause again, so you see that, and I get another thing, we're gonna get a secondary item over here, because the upgrade manager does now take the next ID, the second ID from that particular index we have increased, and now we only, by clicking, we only get iron. So we stay with the stone over here at 4, but since we upgraded that, currently we haven't directly paid for it, but once we upgrade this one, we only get iron, but we do not get any stones. And when we sell that, we should see that we also get back in return the 30, because that is the amount of the item itself. Okay, with that out of the way, we can literally put or create like hundreds of items. As you can see, we can put them all into the list if necessary. We can have like 5 different ones, 2 different ones, doesn't really matter overall. But we now can also say we need to have a button which is able to upgrade the stones. So, and for each button we have, or just not just button, we need to have something which understands or knows about all of that. The downside on all of this is whenever we now want to create upgrade holder, I would say, it may or may not be a good idea to have not a list, because if we would have a list which contains like all the upgrades, we can literally loop through the complete list as we have done with the inventory, and just fill the list just once, literally, and then we just upgrade it. And meaning whenever the list is full and we upgrade things and update the list based on whatever is already inside or whatever the values are, we don't need to go through each single item over here and put that visually into that particular list. So in that case, we would otherwise need to go and take them like in order, as an example, for, okay, add the stone upgrade into this list. Okay, add the fish upgrade into the list, and then we draw the upgrade list. So these are things you need to take a look into, or maybe basically think about But on the other hand, we need to make it so that all of them are the same type, meaning all of them need to be the type upgrade. Otherwise, it may or may not make sense overall. Good. So far, so good. I hope you got this so far. And once again, if you have any questions, then feel free to ask them. Meanwhile, I talk and I try to answer them as best as I can. Okay, so in the next tab or in the next part, we now need to make our our actual canvas, which contains like all the possible upgrades. Let the compiler run pretty quick. So we currently have, or we had created this inventory panel as well as all the corresponding things, like by using this item holder. We basically can do the same, not just with an item holder, but with an not an achievement, but all the possible upgrades. And of course, we need to paint them, or we need to set them up correctly so we can make use of them. We can purchase the upgrades as long as possible, like meaning we have enough money in the first place, and probably in the second phase something like if that is not the like if we haven't reached the maximum overall possible upgrade, which we already implemented beforehand. So in that case, we're gonna create like a fully new panel over there, which we probably gonna just take the inventory panel and duplicate it, so we have literally the same design. But we just need to reorganize things over there. Like this button, as an example, needs to be different because it has a different function. It's not about showing the inventory. We later on need to have something like show the upgrades. So just keep that in mind. In that case, we go to the game manager first, and since we have this function anywhere for showing the actual inventory, gonna try to find it pretty quick wherever it is. It seems that we don't even have this over here. It seems we have this in the inventory directly, very much on the top. There we go. So the inventory takes care of itself, so probably we're gonna do the same for the upgrades. So in that case, we're gonna connect ourselves or the upgrades panel to, or next to the actual upgrades itself. So in that case, we create a new public game object upgrades panel. So we can now hook up this panel, and based on the function we are going to call, we can close or open this one based on a bool like true or false, as we did before with the inventory. So in that case, we say public void show upgrades panel, something like that. Open close parentheses, and then here we just enable or disable based on a boolean we're going to pass in. So in that case, we say here bool open, and then there we're going to say upgrades panel dot setActive open close parentheses based on whatever open is. And in start, we can also say, just in case, start with a big S, super important over here, open close parentheses, open close curly brace, we're gonna say show upgrades panel, and we say false. We don't want to see this like instantly. We want to have the players to take a look into that. Also, we can now go and take this from buttons input and let the buttons tell, okay, show that or hide that. With that out of the way, we can now go and make everything necessary for our inventory panel, which first off we want to redesign and rename it. So this is our upgrades panel, like this. Don't forget to hit enter to apply it. We still have the grid. We probably take a look or take the already created prefab, as well as we have this little close button, and the close button in that particular case is not going to be connected to the game, or it is connected to the game manager, but we go to the upgrade script and say show upgrades panel, and here we say false. Same for this button over here, which is going to be the main button at the very top. The first one over there is going to give us another on-click event. We drag in the game manager again, go to upgrades, show upgrades panel, and we tick the checkbox. So we now have the possibility to open it. Currently nothing else is going to happen. So what we need to do now is we need to take a look into, and we have an unassigned reference exception of the upgrades panel inside the game manager, meaning we now take the upgrades manager or panel and drag it into the game object for the panel. Otherwise, once again, there's no access to it. Now it's closing it, so whenever we click on this, we open it. Of course, you can also put like text and stuff like that around here, as well as we should be able to close it. Same for the inventory. Currently is nothing inside. We can go and get some stones, so we see the difference. This is like the upgrade one, and this this is the inventory one, and this one, the other one with the arrow, is going to be the upgrades one. So they are different. We have like two panels right now which have different data. Now onto the grid, we want to put some items into the grid, like we want to fill this particular upgrades panel grid with items, or in this case with upgrades. So once again, there are different possibilities we have over there, but since we need to override them sooner or later, we need to handle them differently, or we're going to have to create a list and once again populate it with upgrades like the ones we have populated beforehand. Both should work. Like whenever we do this on start, we just flush in the data into the list. The list is getting literally performed, or we need to talk to each of these, and per item we're gonna find there, or we need to put it in to the particular one. But in the end, it's easier to go with a list because we need to redraw the list anytime we change something anyway. So may or may not be a better way to do it directly with a list. So instead of having like a single items over there. To do so, we first off create an item holder, in this case an upgrade holder. I'm gonna go and take the prefab from the item holder and drag it into the upgrades grid. What we literally have is the same, but in this case we have like also what is the current, literally like the current level. We just need to rename them. We don't want to have like this button to be on it because we don't need it. So in that case, we should be able to, I hope so, rename this to be an upgrade panel or upgrade holder. We don't want to have a sell button, but what we have is literally a buy button. So we can, I would say, we just rename it over here. Buy button. We don't need this button, and it says, oh no, we cannot use that. So we need to open this and change it directly inside over here. And we're going to take this one and just get rid of it. The text of the sell button is going to be buy. Once again, here's the amount. We're going to take a look into the amount, and this one is going to be the actual current level of the particular item, or in this case not the item but the upgrade. So I take this now and put this over here and create an original prefab. I hope my item holder didn't got any issues now. Oh, it does. Okay, so that's bad. So I gonna have to hook this things up again. Like currently we don't have a use for the use button here, but just in case, I'm gonna put that together and I get rid of the actual on-click event of the item holder, since currently I have changed the original item holder before doing a copy of it. So that was a bad turn my side, but the upgrade holder should have his own setting over there. Good. What is the best solution if I want to switch between panels without closing each one? New button on each panel. Well, if you have like multiple panels, the best solution should be just closing the other ones. Since, well, at the moment, on my side over here, I cannot click on the other ones because the input is blocked. So I have to close it no matter what. So as you can see, when we now do this, we have like whatever it is inside. We can't open anything else. And we have to close the current open one, otherwise we cannot interact with anything else. And so we need to go in here. Okay, this is the upgrade button. So I do it through this image itself. I just block the possible input for that. If you have like panels which are next to each other or whatever, then you probably want to do like a simple switch statement as an example, or switch accessor. When you click the first one, then everything else closes but the first, and so on and so forth. So maybe there's no other way to do this. But at the moment, as you can see over here, I have to close the first one before I can interact with anything else. That's why I created it this way. If I don't have this like completely overlaying, I would recommend closing the other ones. And yeah, each panel should have his own, literally his own interactions. But also that depends on the design overall. Good. So we have now the upgrade holder. The upgrade holder should be populated later on with the cost of the upgrade. And this is something we haven't checked out yet, so we need to take a look into. So we have the IDs to change, meaning the IDs like for the actual items over there. But the thing is, we cannot handle like all the upgrades, or probably we cannot handle them as we may want to. So what I now do is I still take in consideration this current level being my indicator for the index of whatever the array is, and the IDs to change is going to be the one which we are going to pick up whenever we have upgraded our stone amount or the stones overall as its type. But what we can also do is we can put a price, so something like item price. So each item price in this array is going to represent the index of the ID to change. So first one doesn't cost anything because, well, there's nothing to do with, or we don't have to do anything with that. Let's assume whenever we go to our game manager and we're gonna see, okay, we have like a second list over there, which also has to have the same size of the first ID. And as you can see, element 0 over here doesn't need to have any price. It can stay at 0. But let's assume our upgrade cost to get a better, to get better stones, cost $1,000. We can define them by hand. It's up to us how we want to do this. So whenever we later on want to upgrade this one, we want to read the current ID plus 1, whatever this price is going to be to get this. Or we do it vice versa. From the current ID, the first price needs to be 1,000 and the next price should be whatever it is. Well, this is something where the logic comes in play, so however you want to handle that. But literally, since we are starting at the first place, we don't have to pay anything because it's 0 already, but we want to take a look into the next item, what the next unlock cost is going to be. Probably that is the better way. If that is not the case, then start not with 0 but with the first price to get the next, or to the next level. So in that case you would say something like, okay, this first one cost 1,000 but the next one cost maybe 5,000. But on the other hand, if you do that, and you have no item which comes next, this price is actually obsolete, and it doesn't make sense to have that because, well, the list is not higher. And in the last one, you have something like, like there is no other possibility to upgrade that. Once again, there are hundreds of possibilities to do that, and you are up to yourself how you want to design that. So for our stone upgrades, we want to now create one of these item holders or upgrade holders. And also for any other type of possible upgrades, we want to put them into the list there. To actually populate for each item or for each upgrade we want to populate everything inside. We want to talk to, and now it becomes interesting because we cannot make use of item holder. Well, we can, maybe, but we need to implement some other functions for this particular one. And also we don't have any item IDs or anything like that, so we need to create another script which contains literally the same data. Let's see. Yeah, maybe we make use of that, but the sell button is going to be later on a buy button, which we are going to use only for the upgrade ones. So for upgrades only. So, and this is going to be like a public void buy upgrade. So since we can make use of the visual representation, the only thing is we don't have is the possibility to make use of an ID over there, I guess, because, well, currently we don't have any ID to pass by or pass in, even if we could. And we could also, if we are using a list, we can also use the index of the ID. If it makes sense, well, I don't know. We don't know yet, or I don't know yet. Depends on what the actual upgrades are going to be as well. Like, as I said before, like an auto fisher or auto hunter or auto digger or whatever, or a pickaxe guy. Then we may or may not need to do different things over there, because they are not relative to the actual item or inventory in this particular case. They are just pure upgrades. They also have to get different things over there. So in start, what we could do is we could per upgrade item and so on and so forth, we could get some different things over there, like and fill the list over here. I have to give a small pause over there, and I will be back in a minute with the next stream, because I have to do a small break at this point. But I will be back like in maybe 10 minutes with the next stream or something like that.